Welcome to this episode of Now That's Something Good, the podcast where we explore the extraordinary in the everyday ordinary. Now here's your host, Sarah Good.
Hey everyone, welcome back. We are so happy that you are here with us today. We are loving being able to share stories with you each week. For the next few weeks, we are going to highlight stories that have a really special place and will in my heart. When I was just 12 years old, I had really close family friends go through the process of adopting a child into their family. Watching them navigate the ups and downs of adoption made a lasting impact on my life. So much so that at that young age, I knew that one day I wanted to help families be able to adopt and that I wanted to adopt a child myself. November is National Orphan Awareness Month. And I know we're a few days away from November, but we're getting a head start. And orphan care, foster care, orphan prevention, and helping vulnerable children is something really near and dear to our hearts. We will tell you more of our story soon, but for the next few weeks, we want to highlight a few stories of individuals and families who have said yes to helping kids through fostering or adoption. Did you know that it's estimated that there are over 150 million orphans worldwide? That in the state of Missouri alone, there are 13,000 plus kids in the foster care system. There are so many kids here in the United States and all around the world that need families. Kids that might need a temporary care for a time while their parents get help. Kids that need adults in their lives willing to encourage and love them. And kids that need people to use their voice to speak up when theirs cannot be heard. We might not all be called to foster or adopt, and that's okay. But we believe that we can all do something. Make sure to check out our show notes to find resources and find more information on how you might be able to help make a difference in the life of a child. Today, I'm talking with a longtime friend of mine, Erin Duckworth. God worked out the timing perfectly for us to be able to catch up and hear her story. So come along. Here's my conversation with my friend, Erin. Hey guys, today I've got my friend Erin with us.
Hi.
So this is a first for the podcast. We were just chatting. Erin lives all the way in Pennsylvania, and we're going to have her tell us all about that. But Erin and I used to work together, and we've not seen each other. We just said
15 years?
It's been a long time, which I don't feel like we're old enough to say it's been 15 years of anything. So let's just clarify that.
It's only been 5.
It's only been 5. So literally, as I'm talking to Erin today, we're all catching up. And so I said, usually we kind of give people a little bit of prep before they come on the podcast, but we do want it to feel like conversations around here. And today you are really just getting a full, true, unscripted conversation because I have no idea what Erin and I are going to talk about. I mean, I have some idea.
It'll be good.
Well, let's start off because I want to just catch up on all the things. So let's start with how do we know each other? Let's tell that story.
Sure. So when I was in college, my first couple of years, I went to Missouri Baptist and ended up getting a full-time job in the records office.
Yes.
And I don't know, maybe a year, 6 months, a year into it, Sarah applied and we loved her, obviously.
Thank you. That's good.
And so, we hired her and from there, I actually was telling my sister-in-law earlier today that it is your fault that I love coffee.
I feel so honored right now. I don't know if anybody could pay me a better compliment than that. No,
That's great. Yep.
That's funny.
Caramel Macchiatos.
See,
she got me stuck.
The coffee love has run deep. Coffee has come up several times on the podcast. Yep. So people listening that have listened to other episodes will be like, of course she did. We had a lot of fun in the records office. I'm trying to think too, because this was a long time ago, really. It's had to be, Will and I have been married 17 years, so it's had to be somewhere in that 15 to 17 year range. You were there when I got pregnant with Lily.
Yep.
All the things. But so it probably was over the span of 2 to 3 years in somewhere. Do you think that we worked together?
Well, so I was only at Missouri Baptist for 2.5.
Oh, okay.
And so it probably was right at 2 years that we worked together.
We just crammed a lot into a short amount of time. So I was thinking, Erin, I don't know if you'll remember this, but I think of you every year with Christmas. And when Christmas music comes on.
Yes, I still think of you. In September when people start listening.
So do you want to talk about our Christmas memories from the record office? Or?
Oh, man. That's pulling those memories up is a lot.
It's a lot. So what I remember is I would always sing Christmas songs to you or just randomly.
Oh, yeah.
But the crazy thing is I would forget half the words. So I would just make up my own words to random Christmas. And you'd be like, oh my gosh.
Sarah, that's not right. Yes.
Good times. See?
Yes.
Coffee, Christmas. It was just a friendship made to happen.
For sure.
Okay, so catch everybody and me up on.
All right.
So after you left Mobap, what happened?
Yeah, so I was still in college. I decided to move back home. I felt like I was missing out on things.
Yeah.
I wasn't, but I was 20.
You're really close with your family.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And so I moved back home I actually lived with my parents for a little while.
And where is home?
Southern Illinois, Carbondale. And so I started going to SIU, and then, very long story short, I'll make it real short for you.
No.
After college, I moved to Alabama and lived in Mobile, worked at a children's home there.
Okay.
Which, looking back at it, I didn't really know. I kind of always thought that I would have some sort of relationship. I don't know. I would have something to do with foster care or kids that needed extra help or, whatever. And looking back, I've realized that definitely started when we started doing mission trips to this children's home that I ended up working at.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I was a relief house parent. So basically when the regular house parents legally had to take a break because you can't work 24/7 at a job. And I would go in and spend 4 or 5 days a week, whatever, at the house with the kids.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had a coworker, but we lived at the house, did everything for the kids, and we were 2 moms, but obviously they weren't going to, at a Christian home, they weren't going to make a single man and a single woman work together.
Right. You're like, that might be a little awkward.
Yeah. But yeah, so I worked at that it didn't last long. I was only there for about 7 months. Again, just stuff happened and I needed to not be 12 hours away from home. Well, I guess it was only 8. And so I moved back to Southern Illinois.
Okay.
And at that point, I started going to a church that is the reason I now live in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
But that church plants churches all over the country. We have one in Thailand. I hope that's right. I might have to tell you to edit that part out.
That's all right. We can put it in the show notes, right?
Yeah. And we were supposed to have one going to London this year.
Okay.
And so it's been really cool to see what God is leading in our little, not so little anymore network.
That's amazing.
That literally has no name.
And what's the church?
Every church has a different name. We don't have a network name. So, but the one in Southern Illinois is the Vine in Carbondale, and my church in Pennsylvania, State College, is called Cedar Heights.
Okay. And did you grow up going to the Vine Church through?
No.
Okay.
No, my dad is a pastor. I grew up kind of a pastor's kid.
Yeah.
He didn't actually pastor a church most of my childhood, but he is pastoring a small church again. Okay,
awesome.
Yeah. So, always in church, always, grew up learning how to serve and how to listen to God and what he's calling. And so
that's cool.
7.5. Well, I guess right now it's right at 8 years ago, God called me to Pennsylvania.
Okay. I feel like there's got to be a little bit of a story here because you are, like I said, close with your family. You've moved back several times. And then all of a sudden tell us what was it like to be like, I'm going to move away?
Right. Well, thankfully, my younger sister had been going to the church longer than I had.
Okay.
And when I moved back from Alabama, she was actually going out on a church plant to Indiana, to Bloomington, Indiana. And so my family they understood what it was. My older brother goes to Vine. And so the mindset was there.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a lot easier telling my family, hey, God's calling me on this church plant. Emily had the first one to say, I'm leaving.
You're like, what?
Thankfully, she was only 3.5 hours. But whenever I can remember talking to my mom and dad and be like, I'm going to State College, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
They're like, well, it's 12 hours.
Wow.
On a good day to drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's far. But the night that they announced it at the church, so they did like a little video of the two. My church went out. It was two that went out at the same time.
Okay.
And so they had done a little video of each of the cities that the churches were going to. And, you know, I don't know if the listeners know what State College is or Penn State.
Yeah.
But the mascot is a Nittany lion.
Okay.
And which I think is made up. I don't really know. But it's a mountain lion of sorts. And the first image that they showed on the video for State College was this, they call it a lion shrine. You guys didn't see my eye roll there. But there's a, you know, it's a Big Ten school. Penn State's pretty well known for football.
Yeah.
And this, all I saw was this big cat. And I was like, what the heck? But almost immediately I knew God was doing something. And so I'm just trying to hold it together because like I'm in a room full of probably 1,000 people.
Wow.
And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And over the course of the next probably month or so, there were times that I was like, God, I don't know if you're really saying that this is me.
Yeah.
But I really felt it. And then one night I was laying down in bed and praying, and I felt like God was telling me to pray for the cities, not for the people going on the plants, but for the people in the cities, that their hearts would be ready.
Yeah.
And then he was like, okay, be still and listen. And I don't do that well, especially if I'm laying down in bed in a dark room. And so I was like, all right. And so I did, and I was just quiet, and I felt like I still get goosebumps every time I tell the story, but I felt like God audibly said to me, you're going.
Wow.
Like I would bet lots of money that some man was standing above me
Erin,
and said that to me.
I believe you 100%.
Yeah. And so from then I knew, you know, I still get, when I talk about the story, it's scary because I was moving 12 hours away from anybody that I knew.
Right.
And
at the time, you by yourself.
By myself.
Yeah.
Single.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know what I was going to do for a job because on these church plants, we go and we find our own jobs. We're not working for the church.
Right. Okay.
And so, yeah.
Okay. So how long from the time you're hearing God say, hey, you need to go, how much time passed before you were actually there? And just walk us through what was happening next.
So they announced the church plant early December.
Okay.
Like it was, I think, the week before or 2 weeks before finals. Thankfully, I was not a student. And so that was early December. I got to speak with the pastor mid-January and officially got the word, okay, we feel that you're ready for this. You know, my small group leader, the pastors who knew me were like, yeah, this is something that God is probably doing. So we trust it. And then, so at that point, I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to live, who I'm going to live with.
Right.
You know, what I'm going to do for a job because I'm an adult. I'm not just going to school.
Right.
So we made one trip out there. A couple friends and I went out in March. And then, but still didn't have a job. July 1st, drove out there. No job, no clue what I was going to do. My parents went out with me and, you know, they're like, well, you know, there's a Target, go apply there. There's I applied at a chiropractor office.
Okay.
And I didn't have a job for a month.
Wow.
It was I think it was exactly a month. I think August 1st. So that first weekend I applied at Target.
Okay.
And it was back to school rush. Or they were prepping for it.
Yeah.
And so by the time I heard back from them and did all the training and stuff, I started August 1st.
Okay.
And then I also I found a job at I didn't know it at the time, but a nationwide apartment place.
Wow. Okay.
So I worked for the maintenance team, and it's been really cool to see how even in those types of things, God worked, because my boss at the apartment complex is still a really good friend of mine.
Wow.
I still, chat with him every once in a while. I still have friends from Target, and I can still walk. I mean, most of my friends from Target don't work there anymore, but there's still connections. Like I'll get a phone call or a text message from someone from Target days, and it's really great.
So where were you living? Did you have like where were you living in that first time when you?
Sure. Yeah. We found an apartment. I ended up, I had 3 roommates.
Okay.
So I went from living alone in a studio apartment to living with 3 other women, and it was good. Like those one of them has moved away since, but the other two are still really good friends of mine. And yeah, so it was hard. I've had a roommate ever since.
Okay.
It's interesting. I would love to be able to afford not to have a roommate, but
I bet. Okay, and so the church is starting in there too. So what did the beginning of a church plant look like out there for you?
Sure. So there were 40 of us. I don't know why the numbers are 40 total.
That moved out there or that were already there?
That moved out.
We all
amazing. Moved out in the first weekish of July of 2013. And so...
And I could totally geek out on church planting stuff because I don't know if like for a lot of years, I thought that's what we were. I mean, we have worked with multiple church plants in our history.
Well, when we knew each other, you were basically,
it's always been a church. So I will try not to, for everybody listening, ask 50 million questions that maybe you all don't care about, but it is interesting. And a lot of people might have no context for what it's like to plant a church or start a church.
Right. Yeah. So, there were 40 total, 33 adults and 7 kids.
Okay.
And, we had to do, the 33 of us had to do everything.
Yeah.
We still don't own our own building.
Okay.
So every Sunday we started meeting at a high school and then they tore down our building to remodel.
Oh no.
And that finished a couple of years ago, but we're not back in it. We have been at a middle school ever since in their auditorium, which the middle school has been phenomenal for us. It's been like they work with us for stuff. There's been a couple of times that the power has gone out and we've had to scramble to figure out what to do. Wow. But yeah, setting up all of the worship stuff, all of the kids program stuff.
Wow.
It's a lot of work.
Did you guys do like the church in a box or like how did you get all the stuff neat, like sound system, kids ministry? How did all that?
Right. So we thankfully didn't plant until, the church had been planting for 10 years or something, maybe more. I don't remember. Those kind of logistics kind of get lost in my brain.
That's right.
But many plants had gone out before us. Okay. And so, they're still learning, but we had an idea of what type of sound system we needed. Okay. And so that was all purchased before we left.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so we took it all out there. And the church does a big offering at some point, like in the spring, I think. And so, and that offering had to be split between 2 churches.
Wow.
But still, it was a lot of money. And we're still able to have that in reserves for when we are able to hopefully one day get a building.
Yeah.
And so it's been really neat to see how God, even when we were small, like really small, God provided where we weren't having to take out everything from that reserve. And so we've still got enough. It's enough even if it were $5, God would make it work.
Absolutely. That's huge because in church world, it can be really easy to, you just never know. And so that's amazing. So what does your kind of role look like with the church part of everything?
Sure. I just serve.
Okay.
I currently am, because of COVID, we're not having full services. We are outside.
Yep. Okay.
Which is really neat that in Pennsylvania, we have been able, I don't know how long we'll be able to be outside.
Okay. Right.
It will get cold quick. But so we're not having kids program, but I do serve in, the baby room, which anyone who knows me knows that that's no surprise.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I also kind of lead the video team, but we don't do actual videos. We're the people who put the words up on the screen.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's part of the worship team.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's what I do. And whatever else needs to be done, really. My parents and God obviously kind of instilled a servant heart in me. That's definitely one of my giftings.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
So, whatever needs to be done, if I'm able, why would I say no? Right.
Well, that's a huge outlook. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So now what does your job look like? You have a different job than Target now.
Right. Yeah. I worked at Target for, 4 or 5 years.
How did you not spend all of your money in Target that you made? Because
I am not a huge shopper.
Okay,
and so that was good.
That is good because I would have a problem working at Target.
But I also was just working all the time.
Okay.
The apartment job ended up becoming full time, And then I would also go work at Target
Wow.
after that. And so I was working, 60, 70 hours a week, easy.
Okay.
And then on top of church stuff.
Yeah,
Because,
that's a lot.
we got small group in the regular church and
Yeah.
I did group childcare.
Okay.
And so just always busy.
Yeah.
But I, 4.5 years ago or so, got on at Penn State.
Okay.
Finally. I had been trying, and I actually kind of knew that God wanted me especially at the apartment complex for a while.
Okay.
That job was interesting because I was basically the administrative assistant for the maintenance team.
Okay.
Which maintenance for an apartment complex can be crazy, and we were big, like the biggest in the town.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it was a lot, but
Whew.
So yeah, I got on at Penn State with a program called Upward Bound Math and Science.
Okay.
It's a program for high schoolers to do. It's STEM related.
Okay.
To kind of get them underrepresented students into a college setting. We brought them up every summer.
Awesome.
Took them around for college tours.
That's
did all
great.
kinds of awesome stuff with them.
Okay.
Yeah. And then that was a staff of 3.
Okay.
Both of the director and the assistant director both left in September.
Oh,
I got
boy.
hired in March. They left in September. But thankfully, the Multicultural Resource Center, which was on the floor below us, was looking for an administrative assistant. The outgoing admin was my small group leader at church at the time. And so it was like my boss at the time talked to the director of the MRC and was like, hey, you guys need to look at Erin. Wow. He's like, well, we were going to offer it to someone today, but okay. So they interviewed me and I got the job.
Wow.
And it was that job for me. It's been really interesting for me because my whole tenure at Penn State, I've been in a diversity related field or office or had something to do with the diversity office within the college.
Okay.
And so that has been a lot of fun for me just to see, just being around students. I missed that in UBMS Upward Bound because it was high school students. So obviously they weren't on campus most of the time. And, so moving to the MRC, I had student workers that I saw every day and then students that were coming in.
Okay.
And I mean, I still keep in contact with some of them.
That's really cool.
It's been really fun.
Hey friends, just interrupting my conversation with Erin to tell you about a really special event coming up soon. It is hosted by our friends, Fearless Women. It is a day geared for teen girls ages 6 through 12th grade. So if you are a teen girl listening, or if you've got a teen girl in your life, lean in here and check this out. It is a day that is just going to be geared towards helping them know their worth and their identity and helping combat fear, worry, and anxiety. And we know that affects all of us, but that age in particular just seems to be getting bombarded with all of that in this time. And so Fearless Women's heart is to come alongside teen girls and encourage them and give them tools to be able to move forward and hopefully trust God with all of those things. So we would love for you to be a part. It is Saturday, November 7th at North Road Church, Harvester. You can find all of the details and more at fearlesswomenstl.com. Under events, look for the one that says Elite. It'll give you all the details. We've got a special coupon code for you to use to save $5 off the registration. So make sure when you register your girl or you're registering, use the code something good, all caps, something good, all caps to get $5 off the registration. Trust me, you do not want to miss this event. I hope you will check it out and get the teen girl in your life to this. Now, back to my conversation with Erin. Okay, so then you gotta tell me, Erin, so part of all of this, we've known you jumped into the world of foster care. So I'm sure that there's quite the story with this. So kind of walk us through how did you get into that? Why, and what is that looking like right now?
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, I've kind of always felt that I would be involved somehow. Yeah. I always thought it would be after I was married. Okay. Well, here I am, late 30s now, still not married.
Yeah.
And a woman ended up coming to the church that I go to, and we became really good friends. And she had been a single foster mom in Florida.
Okay.
Before she moved to State College, and just in talking with her, like realizing that it's possible.
Yeah.
That they're okay with a single woman being a foster parent. Because obviously kids need both, but it's not, they don't have to.
Right.
And in the interim, it's great for
kids
to have someone to love them.
A good person around. And that's awesome.
For sure. And so we ended up living together.
Okay.
And we went to an Orphan Sunday in November.
Yes. Yep.
20, I don't even remember. And, you know, there were people from different agencies in the county, people that are current foster parents, current adoptive parents, just kind of talking. And Molly was the woman that came that I lived with, and we looked at each other, and we both knew without a doubt, yep, we're supposed to do this together. And so the first kiddo that we had, so we started the process. It took about 6 months to get licensed.
Okay.
And then it was probably a month later-ish, we got our first call.
Wow.
For a little girl. She was 4 at the time. And I mean, for me, it was the first.
Yeah.
There was all kinds of nerves, all kinds of excitement. Yeah. And Molly was like, Erin, because Molly wasn't fully licensed yet. There was a CPR class or something hadn't been done, but we got licensed separately. Yeah. Because we knew we wouldn't always live together.
Right.
And so I was licensed, so it was still okay.
Okay.
And she's like, you know, basically I'm going to let you make this decision, but I'm in if you're in.
Okay.
And so 2 days later, Marissa moved in.
Wow.
And it's fun because that was 2017.
Okay.
We had her for 8 months. Okay. And she is now adopted.
Wow.
And Molly and I both get pictures of her on a regular basis. So it's fun to see how well she's doing, and she's thriving.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so in every state, for those listening, you could probably tell us even more. Every state has different, like the process for being licensed to foster or to adopt, all of that. In Pennsylvania, how long did it take? What did that look like, just for people listening that are like, hey, I might be interested or just want to know?
Sure.
What does that look like to get licensed?
Right. I think it's a little bit different if you go through the state or the county to be licensed. I actually go through a Christian agency.
Okay.
That is actually nationwide. It's called the Bayer Foundation. Okay. And so we had to do a series of classes that were 3 or 4 hours each. Yeah. They only offer them like 1 or 2 a month. And so it did take a little while to get through those. Yeah. But, those are talking about kids from trauma, stuff that we would deal with as foster parents. Yeah. Even logistics type stuff like, I don't know if we talked about this in the trainings, but like, what are you going to do for childcare? Right, what if there's an emergency? Yeah. What if there's a tornado? Like there aren't tornadoes really in Pennsylvania, but,
if there was, what would you do?
And so, just kind of talking about all of that stuff and preparing us for what life could look like. Yeah. And there's really no preparing someone for foster care. Right. Every kid is different. Every family is different. Yeah. Every single situation is different. Like this past fall, I had a 9 turned 10-year-old. Okay. And then this spring through summer, right when COVID started, I had a 7-year-old placed with me, and those 2 kids are night and day different. And so, like, I had a guardian ad litem one time tell me, don't say only. Like, one kid is a great thing.
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
Try to watch my verbiage with that. But, I have had 3 kids, so I'm still new to this whole thing. Yeah. But all 3 of them have been different.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Were the other 2, so you said Marissa was adopted. Mm-hmm. Were the other 2 able to be reunified back with their families, or were they adopted? Or
sure, one of them hopefully is going home in October.
That's awesome.
I don't know for sure, but I've been also able to keep in contact with him. He's with family right now. Okay. And so it's been fun to see how he's doing, and hopefully I'll get to see him when things kind of calm down and his aunt and uncle aren't scared I don't know that they're scared right now, but when it's safe. Yeah. And the last kiddo I had just moved to a potentially adoptive home.
Okay.
3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so are you at any point you could get a phone call to have another placement?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually got a phone call yesterday
Okay.
for another kid, but I'm 12 hours away, so a same-day placement was not going to work.
Yeah. You're like,
Yeah.
okay.
But I'm kind of hoping, and I always feel weird talking about, well, I'd really like a little kid.
Right.
But if there are kids in the system, it's okay to want a smaller kid.
Yeah.
It's just, I think right now, because I am working from home, school is remote, I'm a single mom.
Yeah.
I don't know how easy that's going to be.
Yeah.
My kiddo ended up leaving. Well, school started in person.
Okay.
And then the week after he left my home, it went to remote.
Oh,
and so I didn't have to figure that out. I could have done it. It's not easy. I did it in the spring, kind of. But I am not built to be a stay-at-home mom, homeschooler, none of that. Like, that's not me.
That's fair. It's, yes. Okay. And so anytime you could get a new placement, what were, if you don't mind me asking, like, what was with fostering, were you able to put an age limit or a range usually?
Right. Yeah. So they do ask what your preferences are.
Okay.
And my agency has been really good about, they call me even if it's out of my range, but they're very understanding if I say, I don't think I can handle that.
Yeah.
And obviously it could even be a kid in my range that, because of their trauma and because of what I'm experiencing or going through or my past, not that I have a bad one, but there are things that adding someone into your home can be a trigger to your issues.
Yeah.
And so I have had to say no for that. But so I started out, our age range was 0 to 5.
Okay.
And Marissa was 4 for a month.
She just slid right under the...
And then before I got my last kiddo, I had kind of upped it because it seemed like that was the need in my area was for older kids.
Okay.
And I was able to get a bed from someone because I only had a crib for a while.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And so I'm pretty flexible as long as I feel like God is saying that this is, and sometimes even I feel like God's like, do whatever you want. Like, not that he's saying, no, absolutely, or yes, this is what you're supposed to do. It's like, you're going to be okay either way.
Yeah. So what do you know, Erin, like, what is the need like in Pennsylvania right now for foster care? Do you know any of those kind of?
I don't. Unfortunately, my brain, I just don't enjoy that type of stuff.
Yeah. No. I totally get it. I'm sure the need is similar, that there is always more kids in the foster care system than there are people able to take them into their homes. And so the need is always great. What would you tell somebody who's listening, who's like, hey, I've kind of thought about maybe fostering, but I don't really know? What would you say to them, or what encouragement would you give?
Sure. It's funny that you asked that, because actually, I think it was on my Facebook memories today, I had shared something similar, like people talking about, well, I want to help, like I'm thinking about getting into it. And my first suggestion is to find foster parents.
Okay.
Get in their lives, help them with, on the Facebook post, it was do their dishes, do their laundry, take them a meal. Just get in their lives and see what that's like and what's really needed. Because sometimes you may not be called to be a foster parent, but you can be a resource for foster parents. And that's
huge.
Just as important.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's a really great way to get started, because it's different being around. I mean, foster kids are kids, just like anybody else.
Right.
But you have to understand that backgrounds, there are little things that shouldn't trigger a kid.
Yeah.
But because of what they've experienced, it absolutely does.
Right.
And it can send them into a tailspin, or it can, get them more excited than they should be, or, and so I think just being around it and understanding. And even just that understanding that just because they're labeled a foster kid doesn't mean that they're different.
Right.
They still have the same needs and desires that any other kid does.
Well, I just always can't imagine. I mean, just with our story being a little different with adopting Lincoln, but a lot of the trauma training was a huge part of the process. A lot of the initial process, taking the classes, getting your home study, all of those things are similar, whether you're fostering or adopting. And it is a lot, and it can seem overwhelming. But I think what you said, and I know what Will and I would remind her, it's like at the end of the day, it's a kid.
Yeah.
And there's going to be challenges with them, and it's not their fault either.
Right.
Like they didn't get to choose all of the things that happened to them.
Their brain is wired different.
Yeah, and the way their trauma is, and trauma can do some interesting things to us for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. I love what you touched on, is saying, hey, even if you're not in a position to adopt or you're not in a position to foster, there are so many other things that you can do. So for people listening going, I would love to help. I don't know what to do. What was important to you that people would do, or some things that you would say, hey, here are some ideas that would get you involved?
Yeah. So for me, because I am a single mom, I mean, there are obviously millions probably of single moms out there.
Yeah.
But for me, the biggest thing is I don't get a break.
Yeah.
I can't on a hard night tag out.
No,
for lack of a better term.
No,
like, I can't see. I'd be like, okay, husband, you're home.
Yeah.
You take them for an hour. I need to go for a walk.
That's a huge,
Yeah. And so just, random or scheduled offerings to babysit for an hour even.
Right.
Let me go to the grocery store by myself. Thank goodness
that would
for
be a big
Walmart pickup.
Yes.
But stuff like that, even meals being delivered or bought, because, like any other parent, I work all day and then I have to come home and I have to help the kid do whatever.
Right.
And then I have to make dinner and do all of those things. And so, those are obviously helpful to anybody.
Yeah.
But for me as a single mom, again, I don't get a break. I'm on all the time.
Right. No, that's a huge reminder.
Yeah.
Did the kiddos that were placed with you, did they come with, did they have anything? Did they have clothes? Did they have,
They did.
Okay.
I have been pretty lucky, I guess, is my kiddos have come with a lot.
Okay.
The middle one, originally didn't come with a lot, but it was because of the situation. He had a lot and things came, and and so I think my kiddos have been pretty blessed to come with a lot and also leave with even more.
That's
when this last kiddo left, the new foster mom was like, he has so much stuff. I'm like, yeah, and I didn't even buy most of it. Like he came with a lot, and so it's been, for me, that's good, because I know that they're being loved in all of the homes that they've been in.
Right. No, that's a good, big thing for sure.
Yeah.
Does your church do anything with, you said they did, that was where you got involved with the Orphan Sunday, saw the videos. Does the church as a whole have like an adoption or foster care ministry, or?
Not right now.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's in the works. The Orphan Sunday was actually through a different, State College has it's called City Church, where there's a bunch of churches in it that kind of, do stuff together. The pastors get together regularly.
Yeah.
And so they hosted the Orphan Sunday.
Okay.
But my church has been really good, especially the college students. They're like, hey, let me come watch your kid. Let me play with them for an hour.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And now you were telling me you have other people in your family that foster as well. So tell me, how is that? Who was the first, and how is all that going?
I was the first.
You were okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually didn't know that my brother. Well, so when I was maybe whenever we worked together, Sarah, my older brother and his wife worked at a children's home in Carmi, Illinois.
I think I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I think that they have also always felt led to do that type of stuff, and they're amazing. But they are foster parents now. They got licensed right after I did.
Okay.
And so it was, right about the same time. And they do teenagers.
Wow.
Right.
That's a whole nother, how cool.
I know. I love it. It's hard. They talk about how hard it is, because teenagers come with so much more baggage.
Yeah.
Because they understand what's going on. Not that the little kids don't, but there's just more cognitive awareness of what's happening.
They have biological children. Right? How old are their kids teenagers now? Or how old
15 and 12.
Okay. So in that age range-ish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow. How many placements have they
Oh my goodness. They've had 5 or 6, I think.
Okay.
I think. Maybe more. They've had a couple that were really short term.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's amazing. So you just start, I love that you never know what one single act of obedience is going to do and what it's going to spur on.
Yeah.
And I just think even listening to your story of all these little things that were just the right place, right time that God was using to line up to have you move to Pennsylvania, to have fostering be a part of your story. And like I said, man, we're huge advocates for foster and adoption care. It is a hard work,
Right.
but it is such a rewarding work to be a part of. And I think the church in general, when we're Christ followers, like we're called to do something in that
Right.
arena. And like I said, everybody's something will
Yep.
look a little different.
Yeah.
But that's so cool that you're fostering and getting
Yeah.
to be a part of just loving kids for however long they're in your house. Do you mind me asking, would you, if the situation ever arose for you to adopt a child, is that something that you're interested in, or is it more, hey, I really just want to be a safe place for however long they need it?
Right. I think right now, because I'm not married, I don't know if I want that responsibility for life as a single woman.
That's understandable.
And so my agency, the counties that I've worked with, well, my county, Center County, I've gotten to know the caseworkers really well there.
Okay.
And they all know that right now adoption is not on the table. I'm not against it.
Right.
And if a kid were to move into my home, and to be honest, I probably would have adopted the middle foster kiddo.
Yeah.
And so, definitely not off of my radar.
Right.
Preferably after I get married.
Yeah.
But
well, I think it's so great to have individuals and families that are, like we said, just willing to be open arm, open house for however long it's needed. We're just going to be the safe, life-giving environment for whether that's 2 days or 2 years, like whatever that ends up needing to be. That's so cool. Erin, what have you learned about God through all of this? Do you feel like there's some things that he's been teaching you or that you've just been learning through the foster process?
I think the biggest thing is the love. And I think probably parents learn that when they become parents. But because I'm a non-traditional parent, it's been different because there absolutely is an unconditional love for these kiddos that have no relation to me.
Yeah.
And I love kids anyways. There are kids who, from church that are like my nieces and nephews.
Love it.
And I love them unconditionally.
Yeah.
But it's so different when seeing these kids coming from a hard background, even if it's not super traumatic, it's not, awful things have happened to or around them.
Yeah.
Just to see how God can really show his love through me, because obviously I'm not a perfect parent.
None of us are.
Right. And there are things that I've learned about myself, about how I interact with people, or just in general about myself, that I'm like, because it's easy to question yourself if you're being a good parent or if you're doing things right and if this kid is really going to be changed. But because my middle foster kiddo was 10, he had that ability to see, Erin's going to church every week, not because it's an obligation.
Yeah.
She really loves those people and she really loves God. And that's why that happens. And to see my church rally around him as a kid, I had friends' kids who cried on the last night that they were getting to see him.
Yeah.
We prayed over him as a small group. And it's just really cool to see how, as much as I care and as much as I love these kids, God loves them so much more. And he loves me that way.
Yeah.
And so it's really neat to me to see God's love in that way.
Yeah. That's huge. I think that's an amazing takeaway. Good job on that. That's awesome. Well, Erin, I know we kind of covered a lot of different ground really quickly. Is there anything else that you want to talk about or share that we didn't? Anything
I
other?
think so.
Catch me up on any life things? I know I'll have a million other.
Yeah, no, you feel free to ask questions. As I told you earlier,
think what other ones I have. You've done a really good job. So I do have one final question.
Okay.
We ask everybody on the show. The show is called Now That's Something Good.
Okay.
So what is something good that it can be anything? Like what's something good going on in your life? a good product, I don't know.
Cool.
Good story. Good.
Should have thought about that.
I'm sorry. I didn't prep her at all. I really was just like, come be on the show.
Right? 2 days ago. Hey, come.
She hasn't even listened to the podcast. No,
I'm
it's
terrible.
Okay. No, I'm kidding. It is totally fine. I love that you have not listened.
Hey,
you have no idea what you're in for.
Exactly. I just get to have a conversation with a friend I haven't seen in forever.
I know. And I'm loving every moment of it right now.
To be honest, I think that just that. Sarah and I were talking earlier about, this was so random. I commented on a picture of her new hair, and because obviously she's always gorgeous with her hair. I've always thought that.
You're very kind.
So it was just fun to see, because she's like, hey, any chance you're going to be in St. Louis anytime soon? And that's a crazy question considering I live in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And it worked out that because when my foster kiddo left, it was Labor Day weekend. I can work from anywhere because of COVID.
Thank you, COVID,
and so,
for that at least.
I'm in the Midwest for 3 weeks. I'm going home tomorrow.
Yeah.
But it worked out really well. And I'm so thankful that this happened and that we get to see each other.
Well, I really am too. God's timing is always right on time, even when it doesn't seem like it. Sometimes when we're waiting. But I do love what a cool God story of how the timing worked. And I know you sharing your story today is going to be a blessing to many people listening. It's almost said watching. They're not watching, but they're listening. Awesome. Well, thank you, Erin, so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
It was so great to get to catch up with my friend Erin. I hope you enjoyed hearing what she had to share today. I love her heart and how she is saying yes, even if and when it didn't make a lot of sense. Make sure to check out our show notes for more information about foster care and adoption and all things Orphan Awareness Month, and also about how you can be involved in orphan prevention. We'd love for you to subscribe and share this episode with a friend today. We appreciate you doing that so much. Thank you for joining us today. Have a great week and go share a little something good with someone today.